Raw Fool TV. What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV, aka Darth Apocalypse. All right, so let's get to this. So before I go forward, I want to give a shout out to the brother Dreamers Pro. I saw him breaking the story late last night involving Kawhi Leonard, and want to give him a shout out. Please subscribe to his platform if you have not already. So look, we already knew about the scandal involving Aspiration, I believe the company was, and Kawhi Leonard and Steve Ballmer, who sometimes is not mentioned enough, in my opinion, when it comes to this scandal. But we know why. Steve Ballmer is one of the 10 richest people in the world. And when you have that amount of wealth and power, that's enough to keep you out of news articles that are not flattering when it comes to your reputation. You know, especially if it's and if these reports indicate criminal behavior. I mean, this is criminal behavior to an extent, not malignant criminal behavior, but it's still enough for some sort of punishment, right? But anyway, we already knew about the Aspiration scandal involving what appeared to be a link with Kawhi and a sham company that was really a front for Kawhi as a co-owner of this company to receive payments designed to circumvent the salary cap in the NBA for the Clippers, right? But now it appears, according to investigative journalist Pablo Torre, that Kawhi Leonard had a second secret endorsement deal where the Clippers were illegally, according to NBA rules, funneling him money to circumvent the salary cap. This article is from CBS Sports, and it's titled Kawhi Leonard had secret endorsement deal Clippers allegedly used to circumvent salary cap. So Kawhi Leonard had a hidden multi-million-dollar sponsorship agreement with scoreboard manufacturing giant Daktronics, according to investigative journalist Pablo Torre. He was told by sources that this was another vehicle used by the LA Clippers to circumvent the NBA salary cap and pay Leonard more than they were legally allowed to under the current collective bargaining agreement. The NBA has been investigating the Clippers, Leonard, and potential salary cap circumvention since last September, when Torre originally unearthed a secret endorsement deal that Leonard had with Aspiration, a now defunct sustainability company whose co-founder was recently sentenced to 14 years in prison for defrauding investors. The NBA investigation being conducted by the law firm of Wachtell, Lipton, Rosen, and Katz has dragged on for nearly 11 months and reportedly grew in scope in recent weeks. Torre's latest reporting shows part of the reason why. This was talked about openly within the organization from people working on the project, that Kawhi was a spokesperson for Daktronics, a high-level Clippers source described as a former official, told Torre in the podcast episode that was released last night. It was openly joked about within people working on the project that knew about this, as it was 1,000% a way to circumvent the salary cap. People at Daktronics, people within the Clippers organization themselves, had told me about this multi-million-dollar deal with Kawhi and Daktronics. They're not a company that you would see a celebrity endorsement for. It wasn't coming out Daktronics in. The Clippers were technically kind of funding it. It was funneling money from the Clippers through Daktronics back to Kawhi. Now, of course, the Toronto Raptors agreed to a trade to acquire Leonard from the Clippers earlier this summer, but that trade has been put on hold with the investigation ongoing. The Raptors were informed of the league that they would have to assume the risk any potential penalties handed to Leonard and press pause on the blockbuster deal. Daktronics is the company that built the 38,000 square foot Jumbotron scoreboard, aka the Halo board, and the biggest of its kind, inside the Clippers Intuit Dome, which opened just 2 years ago. And look, man, you have to wonder, number one, what's the ultimate penalty here? Um, this because look, when it was found that the Timberwolves circumvented the salary cap back in the early 2000s, uh, David Stern threw the book at those guys. Joe Smith's contract was voided. The Timberwolves suffered massive penalties. I can't remember the exact time length, but it was for years. It hurt that organization. It set them back quite a bit, which ultimately led to uh, Kevin Garnett being traded because it penalized them so much as far as future picks. Of course, it made the Timberwolves kind of a toxic team. So, free agents didn't really want to go there. They lost, not just picks, but I think they were fined millions of dollars. So it really set that organization back. To me, when you look at this situation now with Kawhi, not just the aspiration scandal, where apparently he took money on the table, but now you have this secondary company, Daktronics, where he took money on the table, right? Um, you already have an NBA that is losing credibility with a lot of people, all right? Uh, you have a commissioner who seems to be a very weak and milk toast personality and an ineffectual commissioner who has an NBA player that has built a cult of personality within the league that is surpassing what the NBA is supposed to do, which is to make the NBA, multifaceted as far as stars, but one personality refuses to fucking leave. Then you have, what could be potentially, italicized potentially, a drug problem with the death of Brandon Clark and this undercurrent of, recreational drugs that people are taking and ultimately overdosing on. That's something that could be in the future, right? As far as the potential. The quality of the game has gone downhill. You had this other scandal where all these NBA players involved with the healthcare scam, multiple other scandals involved, right? If you're Adam Silver, to me, you have to come down kind of hard. Now, I get it. Steve Ballmer is a very powerful man, and he creates a lot of revenue for the league, collective revenue. When Donald Sterling bought the Clippers back in 1981, I believe the team was worth something around $60 million. Okay, when Donald Sterling sold the team about more than 10 years ago, I believe, when he sold the team, they were worth $2 billion, right? I think the Clippers are worth now something around $5 billion. So they may not do a lot of winning, but Steve Ballmer has brought a lot of revenue. I mean, he's by far the wealthiest owner. He's worth, last I checked, over $160 billion. So that this man has a lot of power. And when you're that powerful, when you're one of the 10 richest motherfuckers in the planet, things aren't really going to hurt you. You know, you know, it's not even like he lives in Putin's Russia. This is the USA, which is increasingly becoming an oligarchy. So, he's one of the oligarchs. So it doesn't take a genius to figure out they're not going to do too much. But I would feel for the integrity of the league, Steve Ballmer is going to have to accept some sort of penalty for this, right? Now, that's Steve Ballmer. Kawhi Leonard, on the other hand, um, I tend to think now this trade is going to be voided. I don't think the Raptors are going to want to take that type of risk because they're going to have to assume whatever risk, whatever the penalties are, is going to transfer to the Raptors. And I don't think that, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think they want to assume that much, especially with this coming out now. And this is another thing you have to wonder about now. How many companies, how many companies were funneling money to Kawhi Leonard? You have to wonder that now. We got two now. Are there more? Because remember, when Kawhi signed with the Clippers, he took less money. And I think when he re-upped with the Clippers a couple of years ago, I think he took less money. So that means that not only was he taking less money, which supposes to help the team sign other players, but they were offsetting that by paying him under the table with other companies. And that's crazy, man. That's crazy. I'm also starting to believe more and more now that that's the reason why James Harden wanted up out of there, because James Harden infamously took a pay cut with the Clippers to help them out, if I'm not mistaken. So if he took a pay cut and he's thinking to himself, motherfucker, I took a pay cut and y'all paying this dude on the table? No, I'm out of here. Nah. Yeah, his man probably like, he ain't paying me on the table. I'm up out of here. But yeah, man, this is crazy. This is extraordinary. There's no other word for it, man. It's excessive greed. It's excessive greed. Because look, this is how you know these NBA players are very, very greedy individuals. And, look, it's not like a lot of these guys come from wealth. So to me, when you come from wealth, you generally are dealing with people, your parents or whoever, if you're coming from wealth, who are used to money and how to save money, how to, deal with money responsibly. Poor people often stay poor, or generally stay poor because they mismanage money pretty badly. I'm not talking about everybody, but generally speaking, when you give someone who doesn't have a lot of money, or doesn't come from money, the first thing is they want to spend it. They want to live that, they want to live that exorbitant lifestyle. They want to, dress like a. Sometimes I talk like I'm from the 1950s, man, but I'm sorry. But they want to, dress like a bon vivant. They want to, look opulent, and they want to look the part. Whereas people like Bill Gates and Balmer, if you look at these people, they look like they bought their clothes straight out of Walmart. They don't give a fuck about impressing people. But our culture, you gotta look flashy, you gotta look like you're rich. These guys are young, in their 20s and 30s, so they go to strip clubs and spend a lot of fucking money and buying Cristal. Maybe I'm dating myself saying that. I don't know if they still drink Cristal. Is that like the top drink? I don't drink alcohol anymore, so I don't know. I never really drunk alcohol, really. But you know what I'm saying? They with women, They don't get married. You know, a lot of this is another thing that kills me too. We have this sort of anti-marriage culture thing going on right now, right? But the thing is, people say, "Oh no, chick ain't getting half my money," but a lot of these dudes, they're literally giving women half their money anyway, either through tricking or whatever, right? You're still giving women huge amounts of money anyway. So no matter how, unless you try to live like a monk or something, you're still gonna be giving women a lot of money. So there's no way around it, unless you don't want to get any, you know what. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, with that, with the fact that a lot of these NBA players, you know, they associate around people who have as much, if not more, money than them. Uh, a lot of these NBA players, athletes, they want to be gangsters, they want to be rappers, and they start living a very, um, you know, costly lifestyle. So they need money. They want more and more and more. They covet more and more. So that's why these guys get into gambling. And plus, that's, you know, some of it's the thrill, but a lot of it's just it's greed, man. That's why these guys are getting busted with, even though they're making millions, they risking, you know, jail time just to make a couple of few extra thousand, 100,000s. That healthcare scam shit didn't make any sense to me at the time. I'm like, wait a minute, man. You guys made millions of dollars and you're involved in this scam that could give you potential years in prison when you earned a couple 100,000. Like, what's the point? And now this. It's stupid to me. It's stupid. And I don't feel any empathy for Kawhi Leonard. If he's involved in this, you know, fuck it. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I don't care. You know, is his contract going to be voided? Is that the penalty? Because then he becomes just a free. If I'm not mistaken, he just becomes a free agent. He can just sign whatever team. They're going to sign him anyway. It's not really going to be any real punishment, in my opinion. I think this is all for naught. I don't think Kawhi's going to be banned from the NBA because Adam Silver's not David Stern. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it, man. So what you guys think?
For TV.